Minneapolis City.
Post goals!
The People's Pitch Podcast, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
Hello, citizens. Fancy meeting you here. This is the People's Pitch, of course, the one, the only, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City SC. I am Nate, and as always, I'm joined by the Cool Ranch to my nacho cheese, John Bisworm. John, what a difference a week can make, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, what a difference 1 week can make. I swore myself off of all Summit until we got 3 points, and now I'm just swimming in it, Nate.
Luckily, that didn't take too long, huh?
No, it took 1 week.
We had a ton of action over the past week, and we've got a couple recaps to provide to you fine folks, as well as a preview of the final match of the first half of the season. So, let's dive right into it. We've got Eris and Thunder recaps, of course, and a preview of the Twin Stars. We'll start with the Eris. As you know, we're in a bit of a funk after the recent 3-game homestand netted us exactly 1 point. The friendlies that we had against Des Moines and Minnesota United were a good way to get our groove back, but we knew that the real confidence booster was going to be this game against Eris, and I'll tell you what, it did not disappoint. If you were one of the citizens that made the trip down to La Crosse with us,
Yeah, they're about like a baker's dozen, right?
it was a good handful, and they were treated to some delicious soccer from the Crows. First, let's talk about who played for us, who was on the field. We didn't travel very well. Only 15 guys went, which I guess is not too bad, but
we were
able to use them all, and they all got some nice action. But the starters were, of course, Matt Elder in goal. We had a back line of AO, Max, Hoof, and Charlie Adams. And then we had Steve as the defending mid. We had Abdallah Ba lining up in midfield, which was a new look. And then we had Martin in more of an advanced midfield role, with Whitney up top, with Whitney, Connor, and Goose up top. And on the bench, we had Wex. Samwell was back. Nick Hines made the trip, and Peter Runquist, backup goalkeeper.
I think before you kind of dive in, I want to mention one thing. You know, if you look at that lineup, you look at the guys that were rewarded with starting lineup spots from their performances in the friendlies.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like we mentioned, that Abdallah in the midfield was interesting.
That was our opportunity to get him in there in a game that has less impact. To
Charlie
see
definitely stepped up during the friendlies, and now he looks like he's the staple. And with if we can use Abdallah in the midfield, that's great.
Yep, and Max and Hoof just continued that partnership. We hope is one for the future.
They looked good. We'll get into that. I want to talk about Eris real quick. Usually we do a little breakdown of kind of who was out there for the other team, but there weren't too many guys of note. And I want to reiterate that Eris has a different mission and a different philosophy than most of the other teams in our league, and that has a little bit to do with the type of player they can get down there in La Crosse, and a little bit to do with how they've positioned themselves within their community. It's definitely a developmental team that has somehow been able to operate without winning in years. I don't know. I don't know where their money comes from, or it's very strange, and it seems like it would be a hard sell to get a kid to sign. But I guess when you're recruiting high school kids from Alaska, Wisconsin to play on your NPSL team, you get what you get.
So I kind of call bullshit a little bit, Nate, where I don't think that their whole philosophy started out as a development philosophy. I know plenty of soccer players in Wisconsin, being that I was one at one point.
Yeah.
There's plenty of talent around those areas, and whether it be someone, that we saw in, the Sioux Falls Thunder, it's the same type of market that there is in Sioux Falls. It's just that I don't know what their organization is actually doing. And I think that there's kind of like a umbrella of, we're a development team, so it's okay if we get beat 8-0. I think it's more of...
You're contending that that's like a kind of more of a front for how bad their management is?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of just flapping gums here. But I think that's the case. And
it feels like it could be right.
Right. And then you find out that, kind of reading under the... Pulling a level of the onion back, you find out that a bunch of players quit, and, you start wondering, like, are they telling the truth? And will they be able to finish a season? Because even if you're in high school, you don't want to get your shit pushed in 8-0 every single time. I'd rather go play like under 18 with my buddies and have way more fun at my own level and not get my shit kicked in by a guy like Martin Brown. Right? Like, come on. Like, I don't know. Anyways, continue.
Well, so based on the level of talent we were lined up against, you kind of expected the scoring to come early and often, and it did. I want to say I half expected an immediate goal because we were pressuring them early and often right out of the gates, and I got to thinking, like, I caught myself thinking, like, we haven't scored in the first 5 minutes. Are we ever going to score? Like, I expected it that badly. But then, boom, 6 minutes in, we scored. Goose was served a great pass from Martin, and then he unleashed from the top of the box on the kind of the right side into the upper left of the goal. Keeper really had no chance, especially the keeper of this quality. And then 3 minutes later, almost right after restart, Whitney strikes from with another Martin assist. He burned right past the D. Whitney was lined up on the left side as usual. He burns past that kid, and he went top shelf. Like, he went right at the keeper and just right into the top of the net over his head. It was pretty sweet.
Go ahead and try to save it kind of situation.
Yeah. And then 2 minutes after that, Charlie Adams opens his account as a Crow with a long distance shot that I don't think the keeper was thinking. He was so concerned with Goose, Connor, Whitney, Martin, with those guys that were kind of more attacking and closer up to him. He's worried about what they're doing. I don't think he expected Charlie to shoot, because before he knew it, that thing was again in the upper left-hand corner, and we were up to a quick 3-0.
See, I wasn't there. I was in Austin, Texas for work, so I was kind of following on the Matchday Twitter while I was listening to some music down in Austin, and I heard that goalkeeper made some pretty ridiculous saves to kind of keep it at that score line. To kind of start the game, where he was actually standing on his head a little bit. What would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he was he was definitely working hard to keep the scoreline, fairly respectable. And I thought for a while, once after that third goal, there wasn't another goal for another 17 minutes. So I thought, okay, I thought this guy's got it under control. This is what probably happened. I was thinking, this is probably what happened to those other teams. They came out, they punched Aris in the face, and Aris was able to kind of get into its turtle shell and at least try survive with a 3-0 scoreline. But and then we made it 4-0, and that analysis kind of went out the window. Goose again took control, did what he does, dribbling through 2, 3, maybe 4 Aris defenders on his way to being one-on-one with the keeper, and he buried that chance off a corner. We could have made it 5-0 pretty quickly. There was a little flick right in front of goal from Abdallah Ba to Martin, but Martin was ruled offside, so it wasn't going to be 5-0 until the end of the first half when Steve opens up his account as a Crow, which is great.
He stole my goal celebration.
Yeah, and I talked to him about that. We'll hear from him here in a little bit. But Steve came in kind of from short range on the left side. He found himself a little bit advanced. He kept his run going, and Connor was nice and gave the ball to young Steve. He had a nice assist right across the front of the box, and Steve poked it in. That was pretty exciting. And then at the half, we made our changes real quick. Wex went in for Connor. Peter went in for Elder, and at 56 minutes, Samuel went in for Martin because we got to get those guys in. Nick Hines went in at about 58 minutes, right after Goose delivered on his hat trick on that penalty. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, but that was my video. It was the most bizarre penalty I've seen. The keeper actually saved it. So like you said, that keeper was kind of up. He was definitely standing on his head to maintain some manner of respect. He wasn't going to get buried, 15-0. But there's only so much this guy could do with the cement-footed defense that he had. Like, these guys were not
piano.
Yeah, I mean, one-on-one they were getting beat every time, and I'll talk about the difference in their play style and why I think we walked all over him in a second. But this guy saved Goose's penalty shot, but then the rebound went right back up in the air, and Goose was able to kind of do this weird little like double kick
thing, yeah.
to get it in, and ended up landing on the keeper. And I'm sure his pride was hurt a little more than he was. But
didn't he punch Goose in the stomach or something?
He did. I think Goose was standing kind of on top of him, and they were a little tangled up, and I don't think he was happy about that. And then Eris subbed their keeper out right after that, about 5 minutes after that. And then we were really in the home stretch. It was already, 6-0 at that point. And this new keeper, he also made some decent saves, but we kept going. We had a lot of long-range chances that we were peppering him with, one of which Wexler converted to make it 7-0, and then one of which Samuel Ruiz Plaza converted to make it 8-0, and that was a nice welcome back to Samo. So I talked to Steve after, and let's play that real quick, and then we'll get back into kind of what I thought about the game as a whole. All right, what's up? I am here with Ian Steve Smith. Ian, 90 minutes today in a great game against Eris. Goals scored for you. Is that a first for in Minneapolis City?
That is my first for Minneapolis City.
That's got to be pretty exciting. So first of all, I want to talk about kind of the difference that you saw that you had in midfield today. You had Abdallah Ba in front of you. Is that something the team was looking to mix up, or is it kind of we knew who was traveling and that was a good place for him?
I mean, he'd been playing there in training, and he's obviously one of those players that can honestly play any position on the pitch. He's really versatile, and we've been working on that in training a bit, so it was kind of time to put it into action, see how he did in the game there, and he did very well.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. You guys got not a ton of pressure today, not as worrisome as some of the other teams on the counter. So you had some freedom to move up the field a little bit more, and that got you the look on goal.
Yeah.
You were fairly advanced. Was that something you guys were just pushing, or did you just find your spot and take it?
It was kind of that. As a defensive mid, you maybe get that one chance to go that far forward every few games, and that was kind of my one chance. And luckily, Connor was unselfish and gave me a nice little pass, and I got to tap it in for my first goal.
That was nice. It looked like you had a celebration kind of in your pocket that you're ready for. Tell us a little bit about rolling down the sock.
Okay, Dan and John and I had been joking about this for a while. John said he had a guy he played with in Germany where every time he would score, he would just roll his one sock down. And I thought it was hilarious because, you can get a yellow card for your shirt coming off or the shorts coming off, but your sock, they can't do anything, so I just thought it was hilarious. So
it's a nice way around, a little bit more modest of a celebration.
And Dan and I had been planning this for a while, and he ran over to the side to celebrate with me. It was hilarious.
I love it, man. So 90 minutes today, and then we've got to turn around and we have another game on Friday.
Yep.
Do you, what's the team talking about as far as what you can expect from Sioux Falls? And what are your expectations? Are you gonna go another 90?
I mean, I'd love to go another 90. I feel getting those game fitness back. So going back to school, it'd be nice to get a lot of 90s in me. I've played a lot so far, so it's positive. And
yeah.
It's gonna be a tough game Friday. I think they're a pretty decent side, and I mean every team in this league is pretty competitive. So
you guys talking about how you're not gonna fall into this trap of having just played pretty much on easy difficulty and then bumping up to.
Just got to stay focused. Play the full 90 on Friday. Just, play the team you're playing. Don't worry about anyone else in the league. Just do our thing and hopefully get some 3 points.
All right, man. Well, 3 points tonight. Hopefully 3 points Friday, like you said.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Thank you.
So, John, Steve was pretty excited to have scored his first goal, and it sounded like you guys had been planning that celebration for quite some time.
Well, it kind of spurred out of the round table that we had when we talked when we weren't actually hitting record. We talked about goal celebrations and what guys would do, and I said that I had this roommate in Germany, this crazy Dutch guy. His name was Olaf Whitman, And, I don't know where that guy ever ended up. I tried to find him on the internet after, and wasn't really successful in that. But his whole goal celebration, I didn't play for the first team at the time, and this guy, we'd have, maybe similar to the crowds that City has, maybe a little bit more, maybe around like the 1,000 to 1,200 that would come watch us play, and he would always run over to whatever supporters he could find if we were on the road or if we were at home, and he would just run up and pull one sock down and just stand there and just wait for the team to come. And then it kind of got to a point where he would do that, and then none of us would go over by him, so he would just stand there without a sock, with his sock pulled down, with his arms out, like, where is everybody? And I thought it was hilarious, and a lot of people just didn't understand it, and that's just kind of what weird, freaky Dutch people do, I guess. I told Steve about it, and then I told Dan, being Dutch, and he thought it was incredible, and it was awesome that they were able to have that moment together in lacrosse without me.
Yeah, Dan was up and out of the bleachers and over there so fast after Steve scored. Like, he knew that was coming, and he was so excited.
That's awesome.
Well, let's go through a real quick game download to kind of finish up this Eris game. The first question I have, of course, to answer for everyone is Eris that bad? And the answer is yes, but I don't think they're usually this bad. Like I said, I think they give up a few early goals, and they tend to turtle up and mitigate the disaster that is every game. But in this instance, they were outmatched. They were outmatched 1-on-1. That much was obvious. The Goose broke down 4 guys in a row. Whitney was just annihilating his defender. They were victims of, I think, really inexperienced decision making. Like we said, there's high school kids on this team. There's guys that are D3 college freshmen in this team, and so there's a lot of young players that are making some pretty bad decisions. And for the couple guys that seem to be in charge of holding it together, their frustration was evident. And the third thing is the Eris allowed us a lot of possession, way more than than the other teams give us, and that's maybe because they were either unable to press us or they were opting for a totally different strategy that was a miserable failure. But as bad as the game was for them, the game was really good for us. This was a game of firsts, just as we had heard. Steve scored his first goal in a City kit, as did Charlie Adams, and I think maybe even Wex and Sam Wells scored their first goal.
I think so, actually.
So that's pretty cool, but it's also, of course, the first ever hat trick scored by a City player. So it's great to be able to kind of spread the love around to get everyone feeling good about their ability to score. And it allowed us to try a few things defensively as well, giving some guys the type of playing time that builds confidence. The Max Hoof combo in the middle looked good, and it looked like the future of Minneapolis City, which I really like. Ba was also so good in midfield that we kept him there. For again in the Sioux Falls game, and our shooters found their boots, and that's something we like. And the last reason this game was really good for us was the goal differential. We're sitting at a +9 goal differential now, mostly because of this game, and it is going to be clutch down the stretch. Already, it's the differentiator for to give us third place instead of fourth over VSLT, and it's because our table is very, very crowded. First place has 11 points. Second to last place has 8. And the only other team with more goal differential than us is Duluth with +10. So it's going to be an advantage moving forward. If we can keep winning games, we really won't have to worry about who else is winning. We can just be safe in our little goal differential cocoon.
Yeah, I think it was we hit that kind of weird skid where If you're listening to this show, you're not new to this topic, but this is the weirdness of our division and how we got to a point where, like, are people trying to see how crappy of soccer they can play and still win a game, or what's going on here? And I think that a victory like this, coming off of 2 very knowledgeable and positive training sessions against really good teams, and us not going into that and playing down to our competition, was a huge momentum booster as we went into the next game.
Yeah.
Speaking of the next game, hot on the heels of beating up on high school players to fix our goal differential that you mentioned. We welcomed into the Nelly South Dakota Thunder last Friday night, and it was a night of many things, Nate, including some firsts. We had our highest attendance of the year at nearly 600 people. And that was great to see. The stands were packed. Everyone seemed like they were having a good time. We had great weather for once, which is good. Instead of, the weird rain that came in, that rolled in on the next day on Sunday. And then we won a game at home, which is a whole new thing for us.
Yeah.
And that was encouraging to see us get 3 points at home, which you figure we're better off at home, but apparently we're a road team. And then, let's just kind of dive into who played for us. So we ran out 17 players instead of the typical 18, as Martin Brown Jr. was a late scratch, had a training knock that he wanted to rest for another day, and we granted that, of course, to make sure he's healthy. But we started out with Elder, Ao, Trey, and Charlie in the back line, with Steve in front of them, and Ba and Wexler in the midfield. Wexler obviously making the start in for Martin, but Ba getting another run in the midfield. And then we had Goose and Will Kidd flanking the new signing Brandon Bai.
Oh, and you missed AJ in the back line too.
Oh yeah, and AJ in the back line. I'm sorry. So we had our pretty much our typical back line, inserting Charlie, who we've talked about multiple times, is that he's one of those guys that's just I call him Chuck. That Chuck was just making the case for himself to be inserted into that lineup and to not lose those minutes to anyone else. And then we had our subs. We had Peter Runquist on the bench in the backup goalkeeper role. We had Samuel Ruiz Plaza, who's still kind of he had a hamstring injury with his college trip to Argentina, so he's kind of been nursing that. So we've been bringing him along a little bit slower, so we can make sure that he gets some minutes, but not in a situation where he's having to go a full 90, just in case he doesn't re-aggravate that. We had Hoof and Max, we talked about earlier as well, with their partnership in the back line. And then we had Dan O'Brien, who, coming off of his own injury, being available for this game, and then Whitney Brown. So things to note, we got scored on first again, and I thought, like, oh, fuck, here we go. This is going to happen again.
Yep.
I mean, you're up in the press box, and I'm smashing my fist on the table, just like, what the hell is happening? Like, how can this happen? So, basically what did happen is Ao kind of got turned around by something called Michael Haight.
Oh, yeah.
H-A-I-G-H-T. And he used his extremely good pace to separate from Ao, who has pace on his own, but this guy has some wheels to burn, and he just found a sliver of daylight and turned Ao and took off. And you could say that maybe Matt could have done better to at least get a hand on that or a body part on it to redirect it. But the guy put it the only spot where it could have gone in that scenario, and hats off to him. Actually, I thought it was a quality finish. I do think it was avoidable. We turned over the ball in the midfield, which has kind of been our thing as of late, and the other team capitalized on it. But as we talk about things that go forward, we can talk about how we fix that. But I don't know what your thoughts were on the goal.
Yeah, this feels like that side of the field is not kind to us. And
yeah, you were mentioning that.
And a lot of it, I think, has to do with, for our games that start at 7:05, that's where the sun's going. The sun's going right down right in Matt's eyes. And I asked him about that. That, at my own, I had a little off the record, post game interview at the Viking Bar, sponsored by the Viking Bar. Sponsored by a couple Summits and a Jameson, and I said, dude, you gotta be going blind sometimes because it's almost like when we were in lacrosse, the sun went down on the opposite side of the field as the bench, and if you were on the bench side of the field, I'm sure if you looked across the field, you had no idea who you were passing to. And he said, right. Yeah, man, when that ball goes up, it's probably like losing a ball in the Metrodome. It sounds like an excuse, but the sun is right in your face, and I would expect that has an effect on his effectiveness.
he might need. I love that line. An effect on his effectiveness.
Yeah.
Such a wordsmith, Nate.
Yep. That's you know what.
But maybe he needs to bring back the old David Seaman, Liverpool, old ball cap in the net.
That's obviously a little before my time as a fan, but that would be hilarious. Is that legal?
It is legal. You can wear the old baseball cap in there. Maybe something a game day cap sponsored by Talisman would be nice. But I think additional points on the game. Our back line is definitely starting to take shape. The 4 pairing of AO, AJ, and Trey, and then now Charlie making that push we mentioned. Those guys are playing fantastic together, and they're starting to like get the confidence of knowing who's going to be where positionally, which I think is something that of note that we need. We need that. But then you look at guys like Hoof and Max who entered into the fray and played some really great soccer, filling in. Max filling in, for reasons we'll get to in a bit, and then Hoof coming on later in the game. And I think at least like 4 guys got hoofed last game. I don't know if that's an official stat, but
I like when he's in because I can announce he got hoofed on the intercom.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Is anyone keeping those official stats that how many guys got hoofed this year? But I think it's
someone on it.
Yeah, we'll have to get an intern on that. The official hoofed intern. But they're all of them. All the guys that are coming into the back line. You can even put Abdallah in there, and you can even put Nick Hines in there. Those guys are all playing great soccer, and I think it's good that we're forming that partnership now. They're getting familiar with each other. Speaking of Max stepping in, he stepped in because of a tactical substitution after AJ was sent off. And speaking of the sending off, I wanted to get into just a little bit that AJ himself, I think, needs to be a little bit smarter about those situations. We know he's a fiery player, and he's not fiery outspoken. He kind of has his own way of going about things, and he's absolutely his first card was absolutely avoidable. Kicking the ball away and getting a yellow card for that after a foul. But I think he's used to being on a yellow card, and so I thought all right, fine. He got his first yellow. It's fine. He's smart. He'll get it. But he was already in the referee's pocket, and many people have mixed feelings about what happened next. And I mean, I don't know. I think that in that scenario, you just don't put yourself in that position. We talked about it with Whitney's red card, where it's like you just get out of that situation. And the position on the field where I was actually right down by where I hopped out of the booth and went down field level to meet up with the coaching staff at halftime. And the mixed feelings are, from one end of the field, it looked like AJ elbowed the guy in the back of the head. From me being right there, it looked like AJ was going to fall down after winning the header from behind, and his arms were on the guy's back. So, but I mean, regardless of what happened, it basically forced the referee to make a decision, and that guy was terrible all day. So it's like, what are you going to do about it? And I think that, that put us in a tough spot going down to 10, but we find now that we're good at that. So maybe we start with 10 guys next game instead of 11, and we see how that goes. But that basically caused a tactical removal of Wexler, who I thought was finding good pockets of space at that point at the number 10 role to shore up our defense and bring Max in, who I thought stepped in and played really well centrally. And I think when Max is in versus AJ and just Trey in, is that AJ's not going to get Trey's not going to get forward as much as Max is. He's not going to try to start the attack.
Yep.
Where Max is going to push a guy like Steve further up the field, because he can do what Steve's doing by tracking back and getting those balls right in front of the defensive back line.
Partially because of his height. He can go a little farther forward and still get the angle on a long ball.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
Steve has to hang back in order to defend against something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think I've talked to Steve about it tons of times and just basically told him, you're doing the job of the center back sometimes from a kickstarting of an offense perspective, which you don't need to be there. You can find another pocket of space and be able to get the ball, the same amount, but in a different, more dangerous role.
Yeah.
But I thought also we saw Ba in the middle for his second game, showcasing the engine he has. And I felt that he not only wanted to go forward, but he was also able to recover nicely when he was dispossessed or we were dispossessed. Perhaps it's the defender mentality in his brain that, like he's got to go track a guy down and he's willing to do that. And I think it's something that we were kind of missing a little bit when we had other guys in our midfield. I don't know what you think about that.
No, I totally agree. I think I expressed something to that effect to you when we were in the booth, that Ba not only gives Steve the freedom to move up a little bit because Steve can be confident that there's someone that has a little bit of defensive skill that can cover for him if he's too far up, but he also can kind of come back and double down and really help us shore up that defense when we're getting hit on the counter, or he can fill in for if Steve makes a passing error or something like that. It's nice to have that kind of backup there that can help on defense.
Mm-hmm. I think the next point is that Brandon Bai is pretty good at soccer.
Oh, good God. No kidding.
We talked to him a little bit, but we mentioned his ability for the hold up play.
Yep.
And I think that's one thing, not to slight Connor or Javi or Whitney or Tim Wills, who's been up there. Tim Wills makes a living on that hold up play, but the size of Brandon Bai to hold the ball up, but then his willingness to turn and attack at a guy is the difference between what those other guys bring. Like I said, Timmy may be a guy, we know he is a guy that will hold the ball up and find his midfielders. Connor's a guy that wants to kind of run at you. So is Whitney, and Javi's more of a possession-based forward. But Brandon kind of encompasses all of that. And he also has off-the-ball runs that are very dynamic and well-timed. And we're going to be interviewing him here in a second and hearing him talk about that. But he doesn't care if he makes a run and he's offside. He'll make the same run again and again until he is onside, and then he's able to finish. And finish he did. Yeah, man. He finished when he needed to after a few chances, like I talked about, that could have been onside. And could have had him, multiple tally points on his stat sheet for goals, but he scored the one chance out of, say, 4 or 5 that he had because he was kind of towing that back line, and that's what you need out of a striker. You don't need to always be onside as a striker. You need the defense to always be worrying about the fact that you're coming at them. So speaking of goals, let's recap those a little bit.
Yeah, they were pretty.
They were, we were down 1-0, and then, the goal 1 happened, and I thought it was the most dynamic goal that we had. We also had one that should have been called. It went in the goal, and then for some reason, the 2 referees that had their eyes on it, and Twitter will show you that the referee had no obstructions. He could see it go straight in the goal, and he didn't call it. But we actually counterattacked for once, Nate, and as a unit, and not just like kicking the ball up to one guy.
That's weird.
So Will Kidd, Wexler, Bai, and Goose were bombing down the field after a quick win and a forward pass out of the back from AO, which is something that we haven't seen in a while, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But then you see that Kidd finds Bai, who releases a square pass to Wexler, who finds the trailing Goose. So we kind of, all 4 or 5 guys who touched the ball there were all in advanced positions and getting closer to goal and with numbers. And then we saw Goose just unleash a screamer from like about 25 yards out, and the goalkeeper had really no chance.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Wexler was in a nice spot, and like you said, this was an example of him finding some real nice pockets of space. He had nothing on his mind but moving forward, which was cool. And then the goose shot was a beaut, and it was about, like you said, 25 yards. That's like 5 yards deeper than he was, but it was from the same position that he scored against Eris, his first goal. So he had the confidence from that zone.
Yeah, he's going to shoot.
It was just beautiful. He put it exactly where the keeper couldn't reach it, and it felt great to be. All of a sudden, we weren't worried, and we were not slamming our fists onto tables anymore.
We were pounding on the glass instead. Yep. So the second goal comes, Nate, and it was basically Bai doing Bai things, saying bye-bye to the defender down the end line. So basically a ball was played into him. He held it up like we talked about, and then he kind of gave a quick look around and saw that he didn't have any support at the moment, and he turned his defender and took it down the byline and then slotted it through to Will Kidd, who made no mistake hammering it home. I thought it was a great one-touch finish by Will. And the thing about that goal was that many forwards who don't have a little bit of a midfielder's mentality, like a striker's a striker and they're always going to go towards goal, but he was at an angle that was almost impossible for him to score at. And you see a lot of guys just trying to score from that impossible angle. And I give him a lot of credit for not trying that and looking up to see Will making that run, and for Will to make that run, because 9 times out of 10, when you're a winger in a 4-3-3 formation like we played on Friday, you're never going to get that ball because that striker's going to shoot.
Yep.
And he made that run selfishly or unselfishly, and Brandon unselfishly found him. And I think that's that cohesion that's starting to happen, specifically with him, being new to the mix. And then the third goal comes, and we see, I don't know what it is, Nate, but we have found. Actually, I do know what it is, but we go down to 10 men, and then things change for us. We get way more direct. We play with more of a sense of urgency because usually we're down, not only a man, but a goal. And then we play smarter soccer. And this goal happened because of all of that. In the past, you may have seen AO who takes a ball off of a forward and has space to go forward after he wins the ball, and then he picks up his head and he plays a ball square to a guy like Martin or a guy like Steve checking to, or a guy like Wexler or Coleman coming to in the midfield, and then we switch the ball to keep possession. In this case, none of that happened. AO wins the ball, drives forwards into space, picks his head up, which is the crucial part of this, and then by making that run that we talked about, that's kind of in between two center backs, and AO plays the ball into space to him. He's onside, and he calmly finishes and then hugs a fan. So game over. Everything great about that was the fact that we changed our mindset. I don't know if it was being that we're down a guy, we needed another goal to kind of lock this thing up, but it was just that mindset that's shifted from let's keep the ball to let's start jamming on the attack.
That's good. I mean, we have the talent. Let's attack, damn it.
Right? Let's go forward, damn it.
Well, I mean, we heard from, or I went and interviewed, and we got two of the goal scorers giving us their thoughts. Let's listen in a little bit on what Goose thinks and a little bit on what Brandon thought about the game, and then we'll come back and give our own thoughts.
All right, I am here with the one, the only Isaac Goose Frent. Goose, this is 4 goals in 2 games. Today you score the tying goal to kind of keep us in it and to change the momentum, despite the 10 men. You got your shooting boots back, man. What changed? What's different?
I don't know. Every striker will go through those moments where they can't find the net. It only takes one to kind of break the seal. Found it last game and can keep going with it now.
All season so far, you've been kind of the guy that just gets hacked and ends up on the turf, and you found your feet. Are the other teams playing you differently because of the danger of some of our free kick takers, or is it just you making adjustments?
It's a little bit of both, probably. I think everyone can see that Martin can whip these free kicks in, so people will back off. It's also I don't necessarily enjoy getting kicked, so I'm tending to get it off my foot a little quicker.
4 goals in 1 week, probably going to make some manner of team of the week. Is this the kind of momentum that the team needs in order to take itself forward, and for you to help out taking the team forward to points after points after points to finish the season?
Yeah, of course. We were unanimously thinking that we needed something to stir up the momentum, and as a team we got it. I'm glad to just be on scoring end of some of that stuff.
That's 2 games we've won down 10 men. What's said at halftime that spurs the team on to make that change and pull out the 3 points every time?
Everyone kind of gets in that locker room and understands that now it's an uphill battle, and we got to dig in and grind, and it's it's a mentality that we all get into at that moment, that we're not going to let any loose ones in at that point, and we can work as a team to do this regardless of the men on the pitch.
I'm going to chat with him in a second, but Brandon Bai is the new addition to the team this week, along with Dan and Samuel. What difference does Brandon make on the pitch?
Oh gosh, Brandon was magnificent today. The goal, the assist, he really took over that game and held us up top. He can turn, he can burn, he can hold it up for us. He's got good feet. The kid's fantastic. I love having him up there with me.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks. We'll see you at the Viking Bar in about 20 minutes.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks a lot, Goose.
Thank you.
And now I am here with Brandon Bai. Brandon, it is your Minneapolis City debut. So glad you could be available to join us now that your internship at Target, right, is settled in. Kellogg. I'm sorry, that was close. Forward Target. I gotcha. Now that you're settled in there, you're able to join us, and you made an immediate impact with the game, by putting the game away with the third goal. What has joining Minneapolis City been like for you, and how has the team received you as a new player late into the game?
I mean, all the guys are really inviting. They're cool to hang out with. You just talk about whatever. But all the guys are just really inviting. Just brought me in right from the start, and I practiced a few times with the team, and I've enjoyed that. And then coach said he's putting me on the roster, so I was ready to go for tonight.
Nice. So you had a goal called back for offside. We could not tell from the replay whether or not you were truly offside. It could have been 2 tonight. Do you think it should have been 2?
I probably was offside. I'm offside a lot, so it probably was. But I know I float the line, so I'm offside on one, I'm on the next one, so I probably was, but no big deal. Got the other one, so I'm happy with it.
Tonight we saw a lot of physicality out of you, ability to kind of throw your weight around, as it were, and impose your will on some of the opposing players. Is that a part of your game when you're in school at Western Michigan, or is that something that you're bringing now that you're moving up to striker, that you're kind of bringing from your role to this one?
I'm on the wing and striker, so when I play striker, I guess I hold up a little more, hold the play, try to keep the ball at my foot. But when I'm at the wing, I'm running at guys and whatnot, so I feel like I can kind of play both ways. But that's what the team needed me to do, so that's what I was able to do today.
Also involved on the assist to Will Kidd for our game-winning goal is something that a lot of the players have been talking about up until now in this season, is kind of getting to know each other and getting to know each other's tendencies. Is that something that you've been able to grasp pretty easily, or is it something you're always continuing to learn, and that tonight was just kind of fortuitous?
I mean, I don't know. For that goal, I guess it was just Will saw me breaking down the line. He made a great run in behind, and he was able to finish a hard ball that I just played in there. It was a heck of a finish, but I mean, it's just the guys being inviting and being able to communicate at practice and before games, in games, stuff like that, to basically pull those things together.
Awesome, man. Well, it's great to have you. Obviously, you're making an immediate impact with the team, and we appreciate it. We love having you here. Hope to see you score a number of goals in the future for the rest of the season. Brandon Bai, thanks again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, dude.
No problem.
All right, so that was great.
Wasn't that delightful?
Wasn't that delightful? It was good to hear. Good to hear that Brandon feels comfortable right away in this team. That was. I'll be honest. That was my one big worry, or not worry, but I just was not expecting him to make that kind of an impact that he did in the first game, especially after we went down 10 men. Who knows? It's his first game with the team. He hasn't been around much for practice until recently. So it's like, what really could he do? Well, he could do it all. And I've got 2 quick additions as far as takeaways from this game that I want to get into before we move on to the Twin Stars preview. First of all, the way that Sioux Falls played, John, looked really familiar.
Shocker.
Yeah,
right?
they kept 3 men back at all times, whether it's they're 2 center backs and then one of the 2 fullbacks, and that was to try to contain our striker, whoever that would be, whoever was forward. And then they kept 1 man as far forward as they could at all times, and he was available to make a run. And then they swarmed whoever had possession with whoever was on the same side of the field in order to force those turnovers and lob that quick long ball. And it worked right away, and it's like, here we fucking go again, like you said. Garbage soccer is going to win the day. It just seems like it. It's
frustrating, right?
I watch my 10-year-old play soccer, and all I do is think, like, stop swarming the ball, kids. Like, play your position, find your space. And somehow teams in our league play like 10-year-olds is really what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's super frustrating. I hate it. I fucking hate it.
But they're big enough and they're fast enough that shit can work, which is garbage.
But then you look at the look at the difference between the soccer. One with a 10-year-old is play your position, learn how to play the game the right way. Then you look at adults, and it's like we're all about results. So what gets the best results?
Yeah,
a fast forward running past defenders. It's just so frustrating because I'm such a proponent, as everyone listening to this knows, that I like good soccer. Like, I want us to get results, but in the past where we weren't getting results, I was less disappointed when we would play good soccer and they would happen to beat us or tie us on some bullshit. I'm more okay with that than us falling into the trap of trying to do that same thing again. Yes, I like goals. I mean, if you look at the one that Brandon scored, that wasn't a result of just lumping the ball forward and hoping something happens. It was more of a calculated dynamic movement of a whole unit going forward instead of sitting back. Yeah. Same with Goose's goal. It was more of we countered, and absolutely that ball could have gone over the top to Brandon. But instead, he checked back and got it and played it into the midfield, which we've been working on that kind of shadow play in practice. And then Wexler gets it, slots it to a guy in a more dangerous position, and then Goose finishes. It's so much more better to watch than bullshit long ball to a forward who hits a weird angle shot that our goalie can't save.
Well, hopefully with now that we're almost complete, now that we've almost completed one run around the league, we'll be able. We've seen what everyone can give us. We've seen what everyone's going to come at us with. And we know how to deal with it, and it's all going to be the same. So that's good. Now, my second takeaway is I think that the Brandon Bye addition, that Brandon Bye inquiring with this team about an opening, will be the turning point of the season. The moment he picked up his email machine and sent something off to the club.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fortunes of Minneapolis City turned. He provides the answer, or he provides one of the answers to the shitty soccer we just talked about, for all the reasons you've mentioned. He's a goal-scoring threat. He relieves the midfield of the sole responsibility of moving the ball forward, and he provides that time and opportunity for the wingers in midfield to move up and join the attack when he can hold up the play. He makes everyone around him better and way more dangerous. And every game in the second half of the season is now impossible to predict based on past performance because of this guy. I love the signing. We're lucky he approached us. I think he has the potential to take us to winning this league.
I wholeheartedly agree, and it's not to slight anyone that was there before him. It's just more of a different outlook on soccer that he has, and a different set of abilities.
Different skill set, absolutely.
Different skill set, and unfortunately, we're not going to have him for much longer because he has to go back to school early. But we'll have him for a lion's share of our next few games. So it's now. Even if he isn't there, now other teams have to prepare for him, and then if we slot someone else in, then that person has to do a different job that'll break down another team. So we're now talking again about what we talked about months back when we were forming this roster of we can throw multiple things at a team. And whether that's you're going to start seeing a guy like Goose gravitating more to the middle of the field, or you're going to see other players stepping up and playing different types of soccer. We are starting to prime the pump for, like you said, figuring out the first half and making those adjustments for the second half.
Well, we are at that point in the season, John, where it is almost half over. The first half is almost done, and it feels like somehow it still feels like the season has only just begun.
Right, it totally does.
I'm having all sorts of feelings. I don't know how to deal with them. That we're almost halfway through it, but this week, on Wednesday, we will close out the first half of the season against the Minnesota TwinStars at 6 p.m. at Minnetonka High School. John, we've heard a lot about the TwinStars. We've dealt with them a little bit in the past. What do we know about these guys when it comes to their on-the-field product?
Well, for those of you who are new to the NPSL, the TwinStars are a club that started in 1997 with a development academy, and I believe I couldn't find it, and I didn't care to inquire with anyone at the club. for obvious reasons. I really don't give a shit. But that they had a men's league aside. But they started out with the development academy, and it's been highly successful in producing very quality types of players in the past from a youth perspective. Specifically last year, the Dallas. This may not mean anything to you, but the Dallas Cup is a very highly touted tournament where the top teams are invited, and their academy actually won the Dallas Cup last year, and it's very hard to do. I've played it before as a youth player. It's everyone brings their A game, but they upped their specific game from a organizational perspective in 2006 when they became an inaugural member of the NPSL. So they're kind of the elder statesmen of this league, and specifically our division since then. They actually have a handful of current and former Crows on their team. So former, we talk about Elder and Peter from a goalkeeping perspective. Even goalkeeping coach Doug Sidney played for them. We have AJ Albers, Nate Engel, Martin Brown, Kevin Hoof, Emmanuel Brown, Chapman, Omar, KP, Chase, and I'm sure I'm missing a few. So there's a lot of cross-pollination when it comes to the two organizations playing against each other. And I think that could be a indicator of kind of the passing of the guard into a progressive organization like ourselves being more, I don't know what the right words are, being a little bit more attractive to a younger player when it comes to development for the next level, as opposed to just a destination to play soccer. So I don't know. We'll see how that pans out. But in 2008, they made a deep run in the NPSL playoffs where they were national runners-up under the watchful eye of now VSLT player manager Juan Fizz. So we're starting to see that they're not only cross-pollinating with us, but they're also cross-pollinating with other teams in our division.
Yeah, they're kind of the seed for local soccer at this level that has grown into the beautiful tree that is the NPSL North.
Right, and since 2008, yes, exactly. Great way to put it. Mm-hmm. Since 2008, though, they've been okay when it comes to this league. And they really were, though, instrumental in keeping the Midwestern Division alive until this kind of soccer boom hit in Michigan, where you start getting, the teams we saw in the PLA, and then you start seeing, the Ann Arbor, Detroit City. You start seeing those guys come up, but the team that really was the linchpin of our Midwestern footprint was the Twin Stars. So there's hats off to them for that, but also, what have they done to move the needle forward after that? And I think that's where, like I said, the differences come. So what can we expect? I think, number one, we can expect a total fight. There are too many ties between both us and them for this one to be a one-sided affair either way. So you have goalkeeper Sean Teskey, who's the brother of former Stegman's old boy, one of my teammates, Jack Teskey, who is a Hartford University product. Great shot stopper and was one of the highly rated goalkeepers in the same class that featured Duncan Whirling.
So he's just a young guy too.
Yeah, so he's just a young guy too, but he's a very good goalie. You have our old friend Raheem Omar and Brian Chapman, who flank the back line.
No way, Raheem Omar.
Yep. So you have Barneedham, who is the boyfriend of former city intern Ashley. You have Kareem Darbaki, who is the coach's son, and who was a college teammate of Martin Brown. You have KP Torre, who was with us with the Open Cup, as well as E-Man, who was with us all of last year. You have Tyler Oliver, who comes off of Team of the Week appearance and who is a college teammate of current Crow Will Kidd. You have Chase Wright, who is a current college teammate of Connor Stevenson, and I think the list kind of goes on and on of these guys that know each other. Yeah. So their playing style is what you might guess in our league, if you had a guess. They play the long ball, but instead of deploying one forward up top, they deploy two forwards up top. So it's something that we're going to have to adjust to. Both speedy forwards, one of them being Chase Wright, who I mentioned. The heartbeat of their team really is Darbaki in the middle. He's really good. And he's really good offensively and is just a complete defensive liability. The guy does not get does not pick up his paycheck from a defensive side of the ball. So you're going to see the guys behind him having to kind of weather the storm of when we attack. But his vision and his ability to pick out passes are totally next level. And I can only imagine what he and Martin together looked like playing like 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it must have been just like fearful for other teams. But he's the guy that it goes through. And our keys to victory, I think, will be a condensed central midfield to kind of suffocate Darbaki's ability to turn and pick out those passes to those fast forwards. So definitely working together, and then keeping a watchful eye for that ball over the top, which I don't have to mention at length because it happens every fucking week. And I also think that it's really their only option against a good team is to try to hit that long ball, as their team's total possession. I've seen them play a couple times now. Their team's total possession, specifically this year, has not really been their strength. So my final thought really is that we just have to go out there and strike the first blow instead of getting punched first. It's happened almost every game except for against Aries, where we don't score first and we end up going down, and then we have to fight back. But I think that if we lay back and we wait, they'll push us back. And we don't want that late in the game situation where it's 0-0 or it's 1-0 them and we're pressing. We really need to get on the front foot against these guys so we're not playing catch up for those 3 points, because they will catch us with one of those kind of well placed through balls through Darbaki if we're really not paying attention.
Yeah. I don't know what to expect out of this game. I feel like
I do. It's right in my backyard. I can just expect to drive 5 minutes instead of all the way downtown.
That's yeah, I suppose. I mean, I don't know which Twin Stars team will get, because obviously they beat Eris almost as badly as we did. They beat the Dakota Fusion 3-2, but then they've lost to VSLT, and they've also drawn Sioux Falls and drawn Duluth. So it's like sometimes this team might come out hot, sometimes they might come out cold.
They're gonna come out hot against us. I can guarantee it. There's no way around that.
Too much familiarity, too much history for them not to.
Right, and then you also get they beat a 14-man Eris side 7-0 at home, where we haven't gotten that opportunity yet. So
yeah,
and we're gonna get Aries late in the season where they've already packed up for they've pulled out the luggage and already put their belongings inside. It's they got them when they were still trying to fight, and then we got them when they at home when they were already kind of
done,
given up. Yeah, already.
Yeah, done. I mean, I don't want to use that as an indicator of how Twin Stars play, but I am just trying to say, like, there are a couple of victories that are similar to ours. There's a couple draws that are similar to ours, but then they do like the opposite of us and beat Dakota. And that's at Dakota, which is strange. But then they lose to VSLT. So I don't know. I'm not sure what this team's going to offer. But like you said, it's going to be a fight. There's too much familiarity between the players for it not to be. And I'm just excited to turn the corner in the second half of the season and see what we can give for the rest of the 7-8 games.
It's going to be weird, Nate. The second half of the season is going to be real weird. It's just too close, and it shouldn't be. And it causes me to be up at night.
A little bit of heartburn. Well, it seems like just yesterday, John, that it was our first game of the season. Your family was there with your soon-to-be 1-year-old baby Gus, and Javi pulled the heart out of VSLT with a shorthanded 2-1 game winner. Our captain and our coach were sent off in that match. If you don't remember, you got to head over to MinneapolisCity.com for episodes 49 and 50 for our preview and our recap. It was awesome, but that means that VSLT is now coming to our house, and we're not gonna have anyone sent off, and we're gonna complete the game with 11 men, hope. Right? I mean, one coach, 11 men,
or with hope, we do well with 10.
That's true. I think people should definitely come out. Obviously, this is going to be a new beginning for us, almost the start of the second half of our season, and just going to be 3 points after 3 points from here on out.
We hope.
Yep, we're going up against VSLT on Saturday night at 6:05. Game times have been 7 on Fridays, but now this is a Saturday night game. The game will be at 6:05 at the Nelly. Coolers, you know what to do, folks. $5 for the small ones, $20 for the big ones. Tickets can be found on mplscitysc.com. We hope to see you all on Saturday night as the Crows line up against VSLT.
If last Friday was any indication of what we can expect, I think that there are going to be a lot of people out there really looking at this derby and just getting after it. I think we're we have the Twin Stars and then we have these guys. So hopefully fans of both sides are getting out to both games. So
yeah, I mean the Twin Stars have a tough time filling their stands. VSLT does not. So hopefully they travel well the 2 miles down 94 and we get a real good crowd.
Yeah, I think so. That will help out everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all for tonight's show, folks. Thank you, as always, to our sponsor, Summit Brewing Company. They have helped us fuel our fire on game day. And you should really just go out and buy a case or two this week. You will not be disappointed. I recommend the Summer Ale. It's my favorite time of the year. Memberships are still available. $60 gets you a season pass and a fancy new membership scarf, a member's vote, and a spiritual reward of holding soccer in your heart. If you just want to check out one game or 2 games, time is running out, people. Maybe you're just the type of fan who has commitment issues. You just don't know really what you want to do.
Join us.
Or you're just coming in from out of town and you want to or you have a busy summer schedule. Single game tickets are now on sale for all games. $8 gets you in if you buy ahead of time online. Otherwise, $10 at the door. Head on over to mplscitysc.com and get whichever entry method you want to the fun today. If you follow Minneapolis City on social media, we are all up in the community. We're at the community centers, we're at the parks. We're helping kids of all backgrounds connect to soccer. We'll be at Minneapolis's Pride Fest. So stop on by both to our booth and just say hello, or just come to the parade and do your thing. But we are in need. We need the help and support of you people. If you are looking to align yourself with a fine group that loves to give back, you are in luck. Minneapolis City is a 501c3 that does good on and off the pitch. And of course, every donation is fully tax deductible. Consider giving to the club that gives back. And if you want to get a hold of us, Nate and I, or the club, or the fans, or whatever you want, we've made it super easy, specifically for us. Send us a note on Twitter at The People's Pitch or through email at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. I hope for at least one email before the end of the season. That'd be great. All questions, comments, and concerns are welcome. And finally, as always, you can hit us up the club at mplscitysc, which you already do, so maybe just keep doing that. That is all for this week. We will see you all next week, and hopefully at the next 2 games, one on the road and one at home, as we fully turn the page on the first half of the season with our thoughts and reactions next week of what we saw and what we hope to see in the future. Excuse me. And maybe a little bit of just general soccer talk that we like to rap about. But we're going to let you leave this show with our house band, Go Get 'Em Tiger, as they take it away with the newest hotness from their forthcoming EP this July. This is We Live with the Pines. You are the people. I am John. That is Nate. And stay beautiful, you Crows fans. You got love.